There is absolutely a way to be stylish on a budget. Raya in her 20s would have said, "You're wrong, but my past self didn't care about a budget when trying to be fashionable, and I should have." And while there is an art and a science to being fashionable on a budget, it is 100% possible. In fact, LA based stylist Emily Burnette is here to show us how. In this episode, Emily and I are talking all things affordable fashion and how anyone can build a dream wardrobe on a budget. If you want to take your closet to the next level, like I do, you don't want to miss this conversation. Hey there, I'm Raya Reeves, and over a decade ago, I turned my life around through budgeting. I went from being an overspender deep in credit card debt to being the founder and full-time money coach of City Girl Savings. Now, I help women work towards their dream life and tap into their financial power one budget at a time. I fully believe you can live a life you love with a budget, and I'm living proof. The weekly City Girl Savings podcast focuses on the intersection of money and the City Girl lifestyle. Join me every week along with some special guests as I share my experiences, advice, and guidance on navigating life and money as an experience-loving millennial. Emily lives in LA and works as a luxury personal and wardrobe stylist. She is styled for major publications and has been featured on Refinery 29, The Wall Street Journal, Diane von Furstenberg, and more. Emily actually got her start in New York City working for retailers like Neiman Marcus, Barney's, The Real, and more. In fact, Emily was actually one of my OG clients from back in 2016. And while we haven't worked together in years, I've followed her transition from New York City to LA and her growth as a stylist. It is nothing short of inspiring. So Emily, hi, long time no see, no speak. Thank you so much for being here. I know I briefly touched on your background, but I would love if you could tell us how you went from luxury retail to owning a styling business.
Yes, thank you so much, Raya. It is so fun to be here and so fun to catch up with you. I also enjoy following your journey and seeing your big purchases like your car and now your property. So it's so fun to have this come really full circle. So, how did I get here? Such a good question. You really hit it on the head with the background and where I started and from New York to LA. I think I always knew it was going to be wardrobe styling. I didn't necessarily know I was going to be tying in styling private clients into the mix, but it kind of naturally happened because I was doing personal shopping at Barney's, so I was meeting private clients. But as soon as I moved out here, I was kind of really diversifying my portfolio in terms of who I was working with and realized also, side note, I was working a full-time job. So this was my side hustle. I feel like that a lot of people knew that I was always like styling on the side, but didn't know like I was actually running two full-time jobs pretty much. So
Wow.
that was kind of like my ticket to my exit plan. But ultimately, I knew I wanted to work for myself. I wanted that freedom. I wanted that independence. I only wanted to answer to the people that were hiring me to style them and to rebrand their wardrobe and stuff like that. So I say all of that to say it happened naturally, I think, because I've always been a little bit of an entrepreneur and been really business oriented. And I saw the opportunity and I took it. And it's been 3 years since I incorporated, and the rest is history.
Well, kudos to you. Congratulations on your success. I would love if we could just chat a little bit more about what that transition looked like for you. So I know when you and I worked together a long time ago, you were working your full-time job, you were in New York City. How did you get everything planned and ready for you to move to LA? Was it like a quick decision? Did you decide to take your time with it? And how did you prepare your financials for that move as well?
Such a good question that is definitely not touched on enough for anyone making a huge career move or cross country move. This was my second major move because I grew up and went to school in Virginia. So I had already done the Virginia to New York move. Yes, it's the same coast, but drastically different, like culturally and distance wise. So I already had that under my belt. Also, I'd say about like 6 to 8 years had passed. So I felt like I was equipped with a different skill set. I was further along in my career. I had pretty much already established that I was going to be a stylist. So those things were different. I think I always knew I wanted to live in Los Angeles. When I came out here when I was 18, I was like, wow, California is just so magical. Like the terrain is different. Obviously, the climate, the culture, the lifestyle, all of it is just so drastically different from the East Coast. I mean, it's a huge state. So I already had that in the back of my head that one day I'll do Los Angeles. And the goal was always to be bi-coastal, to take jobs in New York City and Los Angeles. But it's like once you're out here, you are pretty stuck because the time zone difference, you're getting your footing and building your brand out here and your life out here. But I received advice from a really good girlfriend of mine who's also a stylist. Her name's Rachel, and she had a similar story. She was Florida to New York, but she didn't have a safety net. She didn't have a full time job. She said, I'm putting all my eggs in the basket and I'm just going to take a stab at being a stylist. And she saved up a large chunk of money. And she advised me to do that because that was something that I was really nervous about was to become self-employed. And I think a lot of people either never know when the right time is, which the answer is there's never. I mean, there are
Right.
some cues like you should save money, you should have a concrete plan, you should already have contacts, so on and so forth. So I was planting seeds before I moved out here, and I was working full time for a company, and they had a Los Angeles team. So that was my way to get out here. I asked to be transferred to the Los Angeles team. And on the side, I was already talking to so many people out here and just putting my name out there and sending my resume out like crazy, cold emails, cold calling, Instagram DMs. And I'd say like a year and a half after I moved here, I felt like my styling business on the side was so busy and so fulfilling that I was kind of ready to say goodbye to my full time job. And I was also unable to manage the two of them by myself at the time, basically running a business and then running somebody else's business. It was just too much. And so I kind of had this divine moment where I was like, okay, this is the time. I've done all that I can do. It's time to like just let go and have faith in myself and bet on me instead of betting on a company and working for someone else. And that's ultimately what led me to become self employed.
Oh my gosh, that's incredibly inspiring. And I love your faith in yourself, Emily, and how it only took you a year and a half. It took me 6.5 years to take City Girl Savings full time, doing both. And for me, I had a lot of fears and insecurities and, well, what if this and what if
Yeah.
that? And what if I don't make it? And I think that held me back a little bit. So it's so inspiring to hear that you didn't let that hold you back and you're thriving now.
Thank you. And there's no timeline. Everyone moves at such a different pace. And in this day and age, you see a lot of things and you think someone's life is XYZ and you just don't compare. And that's why I appreciate conversations like this that can be so authentic and talk about like it was actually really hard to be brave enough to do that. But ultimately, I realized like nothing's going to change. So I need to
Right.
do it now or never, really.
That's such a good way to think about it because time is just going to keep passing.
Yep.
More than likely, our responsibilities are just going to keep growing. So, why put off something that you've always wanted?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to steer the conversation in a direction about affordable fashion. I mean, obviously, you've worked in high end fashion, but not everyone has the means or the budget to go to designer all the time. What are your thoughts on affordable fashion? Do you think anyone can look great for a reasonable price? And when it comes to building a wardrobe on a budget, what are some of the first steps a person can take?
Great question. Absolutely. I mean, that's the difference between like fashion and style. Styling is able to put together looks on any budget. And that's kind of like what I try and teach my clients is it doesn't have to be luxury high-end fashion. I have a couple clients who like me to send them Amazon links or fast fashion brands. It's absolutely achievable. And I think the first part is figuring out like what your style is, defining your sense of style. How do you want to feel? What woman are you dressing to be? Are you dressing because you're postpartum? Are you dressing because you're looking for a raise at a job? Are you totally transitioning into a whole different industry? Are you doing a cross country move? I think when you think about it on a broad spectrum, as far as who do you want to show up as and how do you want to feel? I feel like that kind of opens the door and shines a light on where you should focus with your wardrobe now, whether that's just a day to day wardrobe, meaning like casual stuff when you're not working and weekend wear, or is that like total boss bitch, like power suits, heels, or something of that nature that reflects your profession? So I think getting clear on how you want to feel, who do you want to appear to be through your wardrobe, and then the last part is just trial and error. You have to go try on clothes and find retailers that match your budget, that have some sort of quality that you get return on your clothing, that you're not shopping or replacing those items so frequently. I think all of that goes into play initially.
Yeah, I think that's great advice and pulling the thread through a little bit more there. So, after someone has decided how they want to show up, where they're at in their life, and how they want their fashion to reflect that, when they go to look at their closet, are there things that they should be mindful of? I mean, I don't know if purging the entire closet is financially sound,
Yeah.
but what can someone do to, I guess, get their own closet ready before going to buy more pieces?
I think the first part is doing like a closet edit. I feel like a lot of people are really jumping on the bandwagon with these. And a lot of times it involves with like home organization and just getting rid of things that really no longer serve you and that they don't fit you, your weight fluctuates. Maybe you've had it since high school, so on and so forth. Clothing is such a unique element. It's very sentimental. It's almost like when you smell something and it brings you right back to that moment of that age, that city, that location. There's a lot of emotional ties to clothing. That's they conceal us and they make us feel certain ways. So my advice would be if you are not looking to hire a stylist, have a girlfriend, have your partner, have somebody come over and help you and do like a full try on session, see what's working and what's not, and have feedback from a friend and really just be honest with yourself about, are you really going to be wearing these skinny jeans from 8 years ago? Or is it possible that you would be open to trying a new pair of jeans? I think just starting there, there's a lot less pressure on that than when you hire a professional. So that would be my piece of advice.
You are talking to me. I have like been putting off tackling my closet because I don't want to have those conversations with myself. Like I know there are tops and dresses from like my college days that I could not fit in even
Yeah.
if I tried that are still in my closet and I know I have to get rid of them. I'm just not ready to do it, but you're speaking to me and this is giving me some motivation to get it done.
Yay! Have
Uh,
faith in you.
Yes, thank you. I need all the faith that I can get. So, I think that was incredibly helpful. And I would love to get your thoughts on some wardrobe basics that you would recommend to like any of your clients, things that every woman should have on hand in their closet.
Yeah. I get this question a lot, and I honestly like to keep it really broad because styling is fairly customized. And so, although my aesthetic plays a part in wardrobing private clients a little bit, I really style them once I meet them, whether virtually or in person, and once I see their wardrobe, so I can see would these brands or would these items actually make sense for their life and their lifestyle and profession and where they are right then and there. So I would say, let's start from the bottom up. You need good shoes. You don't need a ton of shoes, but you need shoe options. Sandals, a clean sneaker that can be dressed up or dressed down. Obviously, there's like some version of like an athletic shoe for walking, hiking, exercising. If you're into heels, maybe like a little block heel or a stacked heeled sandal, something like that. Maybe a boot if you're in a climate that has seasons, so on and so forth. I think like a nice curated edit of like 6 to 10 pairs of shoes is appropriate. Let's say if you're starting from scratch, if you're starting with a clean slate. As far as bottoms, nice pair of jeans, nice jean alternative like a khaki or a chino, maybe a leather pant, something that's not a denim material. I would say some light accessories, belts, jewelry, handbags, sunglasses, scarves, so on and so forth. And then tops, I think some elevated t-shirts are very nice, just like maybe a nice basic white or black shirt with some sort of embellishment or like tie or knot or detail. Blouses, then you need obviously tank tops, maybe some underpinnings. You need a good bra, good underwear if we're talking about just for women. And then layering pieces, whether that's a cardigan, a leather jacket, denim jacket, bomber jacket, all kinds of things. And then again, with the accessories, if you're a hat person, maybe a couple of hat options. I think just overall, a concise edit of all of those things. And I think the key is making sure that they work together so that you can build outfits with a few items, but wear them completely different ways.
I think that's incredibly helpful. And I think you gave a large enough list that myself and listeners can actually like work to piece it together over time. And now we kind of have our standards from the bottom up. So very helpful.
Thank you. Happy to help.
Yeah. So when I first started City Girl Savings, showcasing budget friendly fashion was definitely high on my priority list. And I found retailers like the Outnet, Saks Off Fifth, and Nordstrom Rack provided designer and like high quality fashion for a great price. Do you have any thoughts on these retailers? Are there any others you can think of? And would you agree that these retailers that I listed are a great way to find designer fashion at a discount?
Yeah, absolutely. Even places like TJ Maxx, Nordstrom Rack, all of the major retailers that have some smaller discount offshoot, if you will. I think those are great. And a lot of times you're going to find really, really great deals, and the quality is still there. It's just, it might be last season, it might be an older silhouette. So I think that's a great place if you're looking to mix in a little bit of contemporary priced items with maybe more of a fast fashion closet. Maybe you consign your stuff, or maybe you buy your clothing secondhand or from thrift shops. I think those are really great resources. Also, a lot of my clients have been really big on renting lately. I have one client who loves Rent the Runway, and she's been finding stuff new with tags. I have another girlfriend who's really into Nuuly and finding some really great pieces that way. So, I mean, there are tons of options now to achieve style on a budget. And I can only imagine like what's going to happen in the next few years, more so as the face of retail starts to change. And I'm sure there will be even more options then.
Yeah, I definitely agree. This is a total sidebar. Do you ever watch the show Summer House?
I don't.
Okay, it's a Bravo show. There is
Yeah.
a cast member on there, and she created a fashion app called Dawn.
Oh,
And
yes.
her elevator pitch of the app was the clueless Cher Horowitz style closet where she had the
Sure.
computer and it matched the person. And I just think That is super cool. I don't know if you've ever used that app, but I agree with you that we're probably moving in that direction.
Mhm. Yeah. I just integrated recently with a platform, and one of the services that I offer is digitizing your wardrobe. So when I come in and do a closet edit, we'll take pictures of pieces that you're wearing already that maybe you want to wear differently. We'll photograph them, it removes the background, and then in this program, I'm able to outfit build with your existing wardrobe or suggest new items that would match your existing wardrobe. And that's really cool because it's just a shoppable lookbook and you're able to shop directly from those links and you can save it to your home screen on your phone. And it's kind of like that. It's very clean, it's very modern. And so far, my clients have been loving it.
Oh my gosh, that is such a cool service that you offer. I feel like
Yeah.
that would be incredibly helpful because you're seeing what I like to wear currently, and you're
Mhm.
either taking what I already have and styling it with what I currently have, or you're recommending additional pieces, which is so cool.
Yeah, thank you.
That's awesome. Are you loving this episode so far? Well, the money and life level up conversations never end in the City Girl Savings community. Visit citygirlsavings.com for instant access to resources that help you budget, level up your money mindset, and so much more. And make sure you stay up to date with CGS by following us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, all at City Girl Savings. So, being that you're a stylist, I would love to hear any of your just go-to stores that you love, any favorites, whether it's for you or your clients.
Gosh, honestly, I pull from all over. It really depends on the client's needs. Obviously, the stores I mentioned, the big brand retailers that have multi brands in them, are always really helpful, especially if I'm styling virtually. Nordstrom, Neiman Saks, Bergdorf's, places like that. I'm also a fan of boutiques or like one offs, like Madewell, Cause, things like that. And when I can support like local businesses and smaller owned brands, I try to do that as well.
That's wonderful. So there's not like a store off the top of your head that like no matter what you always love outside of what you've listed, or that you can go there and every time find what you need. You pretty much just go all around.
Yeah, that's a good question. The answer is no, because I feel like every store serves a different purpose. It could be like a budget thing, it could be Saks just doesn't have any baby blue dresses in stock. I mean, it could be a plethora of reasons. Maybe their return policy is no longer very flexible. There's a lot of things I feel like that are taken into consideration. And so that's why I feel like it is important to have like a whole Rolodex of like different retailers. And even in my past world of like celebrity styling, just local showrooms that I was able to pull from, everyone has such a different buy or such a different assortment of shoes, handbags, gowns, blazers, so on and so forth. So it is kind of like upkeep and managing like who has what, when are the sales, what is it like to work with them, their customer service, what is their return policy, is it going to be generous for my client who maybe takes a while to try on things. I mean, all of it comes into play, and I feel like that's never really discussed, so that's an interesting question.
Yeah, well, that was an interesting answer. And I think that right there is like one of the benefits of a stylist, like someone
Yes,
who can do that work for you and not,
absolutely.
yeah, like that's something that I personally wouldn't have any time to keep up with.
Yeah.
So that's where stylists would definitely come in handy. But I also like that you don't limit yourself to just one store. I feel
Yeah.
like sometimes like I have go-to stores like Nordstrom or Express and I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to go there, get what I need and be out. But there's so many other options and you can find so many different things just by kind of expanding your reach. So I definitely resonate with that.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
So about a month ago, I recorded an episode for the podcast sharing some of like the higher fashion staples that I wanted to budget and save for. And in that list included a trench coat, knee high boots, and a little black dress. In your opinion, are there some pieces that should be planned out and saved for ahead of time? So basically, pieces that will likely cost more money, but will likely be worth it.
Yeah, such a good question. Absolutely. And of course, we touch on that here on this podcast because, hello, let's be smart about our fashion buys. Absolutely. I mean, it could be a pair of shoes, it could be a designer handbag, maybe it's just a nice pair of jeans that's $200. Having a plan to buy it, I feel like is important if you don't have the financial means to buy it outright initially. There's also so many different payment plans online now, like Klarna and services like that that allow you to receive now and pay later. So, absolutely, whether that's like a couple dollars here and there, eventually adding up, absolutely. I think you should do that if I think you have to be honest with yourself. A, do you really need it? B, how often are you going to wear it or use it? And C, figuring out how you can budget for it appropriately that makes sense for you in your life.
I think B is such a good point, right? Like, if I am saving for diamond earrings that I have no intention of wearing, I just want to have, is that really financially responsible? I don't know.
Yeah, you have to be honest with yourself. And if you don't necessarily need them, you just want them, maybe that's a deeper conversation you have with yourself about like, what is it? What does it mean to you to own them? Like, what does it mean to you to want and own a Chanel bag? I think when you're open and honest with yourself that way, maybe you'll come to realize that you don't necessarily need that. Maybe there's another area of your life that needs some tending to. And this is kind of coming out in the retail therapy portion.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think maybe even to the flip side to that, right? Like maybe to your point, yeah, you're buying things to make yourself feel better because there's
Yeah.
some insecurities there. But, or on the flip side of that, after you kind of do a deep dive into your own feelings, you realize like this is something that you want to work hard for and it will be like a symbol of your
Yeah.
hard work. And in those cases, it's perfectly okay to plan and save. I think that's the biggest thing here is getting to the root of like why you want it. And if you decide it's something that you truly do want, whether you need it or not, and you put a plan in place to get it, that's the way to go.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, one thing I love about your philosophy is that you meet people where they're at in their style journey. What advice would you give someone who is just unsure about what their style is and they're trying to nail it down?
My first line is to evaluate what's already in your closet. Again, if you're doing this solo dolo with just yourself or with a friend, go in and see what patterns are already happening within your closet. Do you have a lot of dresses but not enough separates? Are you leaning more towards stripes? Do you have animal print? Seeing if you can analyze what you already have in your closet. And maybe that's like boho chic or something of that nature. And then I think, honestly, Pinterest is such a great tool to get inspiration from. Even social media platforms like TikTok, there's a lot of stylists on TikTok that have such cool content. And even influencers or other users on the platform that are not in fashion but showcase their sense of style. And I think seeing what you like and dislike will help narrow down specifically what direction you should go into. If you walk into your closet and you're like, I have no idea where to start, start in the closet, see what you have, see if there's any trends in there that are very similar. Maybe you have like an all black wardrobe and then a neon dress. That's telling. Maybe you like more of a neutral wardrobe, or maybe you live in New York City and you're moving. I think those tools are a great place to start.
That's super helpful, and I never thought of it that way, and I'm, like, looking in my closet mentally, like, "What's my style?" But that's a good piece of advice, like, go into your closet and just try to identify patterns or trends with what you currently have, and that'll give you a starting point.
Absolutely. And on another note, I feel like we specifically as women get tied up with labels and titles, and you don't have to name your style like cool girl, French girl. You don't have to put a title on it. I think it can be whatever you want it to be and whatever feels natural to you and what makes you feel good about it. Sure, keywords like that are helpful when searching for specific things or searching for specific styling aesthetics, but it's not necessary. Like, you shouldn't be so hard on yourself if you feel like you want to achieve this certain sense of style, but you can't get behind the title or vice versa.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it's so easy for women to put themselves in a box, and it's
Mhm.
not necessary for
No,
any
not at all.
reason. Yeah, thank you for
Exactly.
that. So I would love to hear your client's process for budgeting when it comes to like styling with you. And if you also don't mind, what is your own process for budgeting when you buy pieces for yourself?
Yeah. As far as my clients process, for the most part, I have a couple different services. If I'm doing an at home fitting, I cover all of the costs of the clothing up front, and anything that they buy, they pay for. On the other hand, when I do a digital styling lookbook, they pay for everything. So the budgeting is kind of already on them. And my style questionnaire and on my onboarding, I ask a question that's like, are you financially ready to invest in a stylist and all that comes with it? Because a lot of times, once we go in and do the closet edit, we're taking a substantial amount out that's no longer working, that doesn't fit, that's torn, that's dirty, so on and so forth. So that automatically leaves gaps and opportunities in the closet. So there is typically always an element of shopping, whether secondhand or just at any retailer, online or in store, that plays a part of it because you have to have clothes. You can't wear the same outfit over and over. So I always make sure that the client is financially ready to invest. And there are so many stylists out there that there is a broad spectrum as far as what stylists will charge. And so there really is somebody for everyone out there, even just from an aesthetic standpoint or a target marketing standpoint. So I usually focus on that first and make sure that we're on the same page because it's an investment. And then as far as how do I invest, I'll usually do it periodically. A couple times a year I might do a big shop for some work clothing. I feel like I very rarely buy casual clothes. It's just not something that I invest in. I invested a lot in like workout clothes last year, so I feel like that'll last me for a year. I did recently do like a shoe edit and I think I brought in maybe two new pairs of shoes, two sneakers, fashion sneakers so they can be worn at work if I'm doing like a long shoot day. So I feel like it makes sense, but I typically will budget for a couple months leading up to the purchase of like something over $500 or multiple items at a boutique. There's a boutique in Larchmont, and every time I go there, I find something, of course. So I usually don't allow myself to go in there unless I have money readily available to invest in the clothing. So that's kind of how I do it.
Smart girl. I'm the same way. Like, if I am not in a position to go ahead and overspend, I'm not even going to a place that's gonna trigger me to do that.
That's so good. And I heard this recently through this girl that I follow, and I didn't realize that I was doing it myself. For the past few months, I've been only doing online ordering and in store pickup at Target. And wardrobe aside, this has saved me so much money because as we all know, Target is magnetic. We walk in the store, our fingers are attracting all the little things that we do not need that we think we need. Food, bikinis, clothing, makeup, candles, mugs. We don't need that stuff. So I literally am only shopping for specifically what I want. I'm paying for it and I'm doing the pickup and I'm leaving. I can't tell you the last time I shopped in a Target store.
Yeah. I had a grocery budget coach on the podcast over a year ago,
Cool.
and she recommended that for your groceries. Like, place your order online, go drive up, sit in the parking spot, let them bring it out to you so you're not constantly putting things in your cart. And it
Yeah.
applies across the board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great thing for people to be mindful of.
Mhm.
So let's say someone is ready for a closet makeover, and that someone might be me soon. Where should they start? Like, are there any rules of thumb for keeping or getting rid of pieces, like quick and easy things that people can keep in mind?
Yeah, absolutely. I think typically how I do it when I walk into a closet edit is I brief the client about what we're about to do. I ask them, what is your desired outcome for this session today? What do you want to walk away with physically, tangibly? How do you want to feel? So, the point that I was making earlier about clothes being so sentimental, I mean, a lot of that stuff has to be divided up. Are we tossing it? Are we keeping it? Are we reworking it to make it into new outfits that you haven't worn before? Are we consigning it and making a little extra cash? I feel like those are the typical categories that we work with. And I think coming with an open mind is really crucial when walking into a closet edit, and knowing that you kind of have to get through the hard part of letting go of some things in order to get the dream wardrobe that you really want. And it's all part of a process. It's all a journey. I call it a style journey. It's you start here, we work together. I'm your accountability partner throughout the whole process. And then I leave you with a wonderful wardrobe. And some clients do that a couple times a year, some do it annually. It really just depends.
Have you seen clients have pieces from years and years ago and they
Yeah.
just, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm not surprised.
And my answer to that is, are you going to wear this? The answer is usually no. Can we rework it into another outfit? The answer is usually no. So the solution is, if it's worthy of maybe getting some extra cash, can we consign it? If not, let's donate it to a local organization or a Goodwill, wherever you donate things. And let's find a replacement. I will find you a modern version of this. If you like the silhouette, or you like the color, or you like the leather accent on it, it could be many different things, but let's find a replacement so that you have like an elevated, updated version of this item. And that's kind of, in my eyes, it cancels out.
It does. Like, that's the perfect compromise, right? Like, if you love this piece so much that you're never going to wear again, but there's something about it that you can't get rid of, your stylist will find a replacement. That's really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
So, I'm curious, what are some trends that you are seeing right now, and what do you think we'll see moving into the coming seasons?
I don't really focus on trends, honestly. And I think that goes into the whole aspect of styling versus fashion. Like, anyone can shop on Rodeo Drive or shop in a luxury mall and have an awful outfit. Just because it's luxury doesn't mean there's an element of style there. So, as much as I love to see the trends, I mean, they come and go. So, it's also like, are you going to buy a lot of fast fashion and then have the trend be over in a couple months? I know, like, capris was really big a while ago, but the knee capris, like the Bermuda shorts, but they were tight. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, also, I have muscular legs, so it just doesn't work for my thighs. For someone who has very skinny thighs, very cute with like a little ballet flat. Am I suggesting that to clients? No, because I personally don't like it. I also think that that trend is going to come and go, and it's not necessarily my clients' typical aesthetic. I feel like I work primarily with like female business owners, and they're not wearing capris to a meeting. Like,
Right.
so, I mean, do I watch them lightly? I might acknowledge them, but am I suggesting them to clients? Not necessarily. Maybe
Okay.
an accessory or an accessory trend, or you see the raffia and the wicker bags in the summer for like tropical vacations, stuff like that. That's general enough that you do kind of see season and season again. But for a very specific trend, I typically steer clear of that. And also, a lot of the time, those items are in the fast fashion stores. They're not necessarily in the contemporary priced and upper level stores. So you kind of question the quality a little bit and whether or
Okay.
not this is actually a good investment. So to tie this in and make it an actual helpful answer to you, you could rent those things. I'm sure that stuff is available. The really like niche trendy stuff, I'm sure is available to rent it, try it for a season, see if the trend works for you. If not, don't worry about it.
That's great advice. And I'm so glad that you've mentioned renting pieces a couple of times in this episode because that's a great way for people to just kind of test the waters and just
Mhm.
see what they like and what they don't like or what they thought may have been cute, but when they put it on, it's not really their style. I think that's a really good option.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, you've kind of touched on some of the services you offer, but I would love if you could give us a little bit more detail and what's your starting service and maybe the full spectrum scale.
Yeah.
Would love to hear more about that.
Absolutely. So, in addition to private client work, I also work on advertising and commercial jobs. So, you'll see a few of those on my website and my Instagram. But what I really love is working with private clients. I feel like it's so fulfilling, and I love being able to educate people through their wardrobe and make them feel so good about the clothes that they're wearing and show up differently in their lives, both personally and professionally. So, I have three different services. The first one is a styling package, which has components of the other two services. So, this is an all inclusive. This is what I suggest for new clients primarily. It starts with a closet edit, whether that's virtually anywhere in the world or in person in the Los Angeles area. And we just go through and see what's working and what's not. And then after that service, I do a digital styling lookbook, which is a 6 page, fully customizable, clickable, shoppable lookbook that's specific to you and your budget and your color preferences and your sense of style. And then after that, once any new items are purchased, we do a 30-minute FaceTime and we integrate those new clothing items into your existing wardrobe and we build outfits. And then those outfits will live on the app that I was mentioning. So you can get dressed easily and with a breeze every morning. And then I kind of end that full package, which takes about 4 to 6 weeks, with a custom mood board. And it's all custom to you. It's the overall aesthetic of who Raya is. It's colors, it's brands, it's patterns, it's designers that I think you should look up or brands that you would like. And it's just this beautiful little mood board that's kind of your North Star. So once we move on from working with each other, when you go out and shop on your own, you kind of have a guide of what to look for. And I feel like it sets you up for success. And yeah, that's a really awesome package that I do. And then the second service is just the digital styling lookbook. And then I do an hourly styling service for headshots, for in home fittings, closet edits, if we just want to do the closet edit. So it all kind of builds on one another. And so far, it's been going great.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine those are some amazing services. And I think you mentioned a complimentary 30-minute consultation for listeners. Can you talk about
Yeah.
that?
I did. You're psychic. I did. I'm happy to have a 30-minute complimentary consultation via phone to any City Girl Savings listeners. And this is like your opportunity. It's totally complimentary. It is anything on the table. Ask me any wardrobing questions you have, any specific budgeting questions, retailers, so on and so forth. It's one to one. So I encourage people to come with a list of questions about specific things that they want to know or what they think they should wear. And I would love to meet some of your listeners if they're interested in working with a stylist. This is kind of like a way to dip your toes in the water before committing.
Holy cow, that is amazing. How would someone take advantage of that? Is there like a link that I can include in the show notes, or like where would somebody go for that?
Yep, I can send you a link. You can also contact me directly at emilyburnette.com under the contact link. I believe I have a button where you can schedule it directly there, or you can shoot me an email or DM me at Emily Burnette Stylist on Instagram.
Yay. Okay. Well, I will definitely link to all of that in the show notes. That way people can just follow you and connect with you and hopefully take advantage of this complimentary consultation. Thank you for that.
No problem. Happy to help and happy to meet some ladies all over the country who are looking to ball out on a budget with their wardrobe.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Emily. Well, thank you so much for being here. Any final words of wisdom for women who are just looking to be more stylish, but want to stick to their budget in the process?
Wow, I feel like we did a whole full spectrum of this. I think just start somewhere. Don't be so hard on yourself. Have a friend. If that's not helping, have a phone call, an introductory or discovery call with a stylist. That's always helpful. Maybe it'll get the ball rolling. And just go with what feels good. That's my advice.
Well, that is wonderful advice. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom with us. And I will make sure to link to everything in the show notes so people can connect with you.
Okay, great. Thank you for having me, Raya.
Thank you so much for letting me be the money coach in your ear today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the City Girl Savings Podcast and you feel empowered and motivated to take the next step in the journey to your dream life. Remember, if someone like me, a millennial who loves to travel, new experiences, and iced coffees can live a life they love on a budget, you can too.